Well, good evening, everybody, and we'll make a start. I'm just going to make two recipes today. One's a paella. It's probably not the same paella as you're probably used to if you're a Spanish person, or I don't know, other people use paella as well. So anyway, if you don't have the recipe, I can send it to you. But basically, I will be starting the things I have. I've got all the stuff here. I've got a teaspoon of ginger, grated ginger, and 2 of garlic. I've got half a green capsicum and half a red capsicum. I've got my sliced onions. I've got 2 tins of crushed tomatoes. You can just get some from Aldi. They are Australian tomatoes. Then I have 1 cup of raw rice, which I've washed and drained. I've got carrots, beans, mushrooms. I've got chickpeas, frozen peas. Instead of parsley, I've got coriander leaves because it's from my garden. And then I've got the zest of a lime and the lime juice in here, okay? So without further ado, maybe we'll start, and I'll have to use 2 cups of stock. I make the stock with macel, just put about 1.5 teaspoons of macel powder in 2 cups of hot water. It's nice and easy. Okay, this is my bessemer pan because I'm going to cook the rice in it. So I just need a nice, solid, heavy base pan. Sorry about that. I just need to get some oil. Just about 1 tablespoon of oil. If you don't want to use oil, you can always use water. Let's get that hot. Takes a little bit of time for the pan to warm up because, like I said, it's a heavy base pan. You can see you can't hear any noise, so that means it's not really warm. Oh, it is warm. Oil is warmed up.
It's on?
Yes, Andrew. Andrew is not sure whether it's on. That's my capsicum. One of my capsicums not being cut properly, isn't it? And I just have to stir it for a little while. And I've got to add the onions. Yeah? So. Andrew's concerned because it's not cooking fast enough. And like I said to him, as I said earlier, the pan is a heavy base pan. It takes a long time to warm up. But once it warms up, it keeps the heat better. Now you can hear it, Andrew. The idea of this paella is it's got lots of different vegetables in it. So in a way, it's a single meal by itself. And you don't actually need to have it with anything else. You can have it with a salad if you like. If I'm having it with a salad, I probably would have it with a broccoli salad. I would just cook some broccoli, steam some broccoli, and just cook it with some garlic. And have that as my salad or my side vegetable. So you can see it's cooking quite well. If you use water instead of oil, it takes a little bit longer to cook, but it is actually healthier. If you've got heart problems, I would suggest not using any oil in your cooking, and you will find that it probably will reverse your heart disease. You just have to cook till the onions are a little bit soft or a little bit brown. It's actually gone a bit yellow from the capsicum. I'm just adding my rice. You can put brown rice if you like. I just put basmati rice, and it's not cooked. The rice is not cooked, so I'm planning to cook it all in one go. So just stir it a little bit. That's my crushed tomatoes. Take a nice knife now. Sorry. And this is my stock. You can make your own stock if you like, or like I said, I just use Mecel stock. And I usually wash some of the tomatoes from the tin out into it, so don't waste any tomatoes. So basically, it's starting to bubble up. So what I'm going to do is reduce my temperature now. Lower my temperature. And the lid goes on. And that's going to stay for 20 minutes. And time goes on. Okay, while that's cooking, I'm going to cook some of the other dishes, some of the other vegetables, basically just the carrots, the beans, and mushrooms. I'm going to be able to add a little bit of water. In just a second. Just adding a little bit of water to it.
I got a question about the sauce, the previous sauce you put in the tomatoes. Instead of having crushed tomatoes, could you use pasta sauce if you happen to have lots of pasta sauce? Could you use pasta sauce and maybe get rid of the stock or something? How would that work?
You can, you just need to make sure you get the liquid quantity right. You know what I mean? You know how tin tomatoes don't have that much liquid? So, and I need like 2 cups of water at least for the cooking the rice. So if you're using pasta sauce, and if you put 1 bottle of pasta sauce, then maybe make sure you put 2 cups of hot water, maybe a little bit more than 2 cups of hot water. And if you're using brown rice, use a little bit more water. Any other questions?
So sorry, you would suggest get rid of the stock, but keep the water for pasta sauce substitute?
Yes, yes. If you're using pasta sauce, then you don't need to use stock powder. Okay, so just use water, but boiling water, hot water. Because you don't want to cook the whole thing all in pasta sauce because it'll be too thick and gluggy, and the rice needs water to absorb and cook. So I'm just going to cook this for about 3 or 4 minutes so it gets a little bit soft. If you like your carrots very soft, then I'll cook it for longer. So it depends on who's eating. If you've got a great-grandmother who's got not much teeth, then I suggest you cook it longer. If not, you can have it. I'm just going to cook it for another 3 or 4 minutes because I just want to soften it. If you want to use only 1 pot to cook, you cook this first, take this out and leave it aside, and then do the rice bit. And then add this at the end of the cooking cycle with all the other things, with the lime juice, sorry, and the chickpeas. Because those don't need much cooking, probably about 2 or 3 minutes at the most at the end of the. I mean, to be honest, if you don't cook it, it doesn't matter because, you know, you can eat carrots raw and you can eat mushrooms raw and you can eat beans raw. So it's just a bit more chewy, that's all it'll be. So you can see it's just, I only added a little bit of water just to make it cook. Because I don't want my paella to be too wet. So I'm just leaving it to cook a little bit longer for the water to resolve. The water to evaporate, I should say. Okay. And I'm going to just turn that off and leave it there ready for putting it in later. Okay. So while that's cooking, I'm going to make the fudge. Okay. This can you show the fudge? It's called black almond fudge. It's pretty healthy. The only thing which is sweet in it will be the banana and the honey. Okay. So and the dates. Sorry, but the dates are healthy stuff. Okay. So what it contains is you have 1 cup of hot dates, which I've soaked in hot water and then drained it so it's nice and soft. And all you have to do is get a food processor, dump that in, and then you have 1/2 cup of rolled oats. You can buy any brand. I've actually got Woolly Special here. That's 1/2 cup of rolled oats. And then 1/2 cup of ground almonds. I just ground this in my spice rack. Spice grinder or a coffee grinder. So it's just 1/2 cup of it. And 1/2 cup carrot powder. I was not able to get carrot powder. So what I've done is I've got cacao. You can actually use cocoa powder if you want. They just all will taste slightly different. I think carrot tends to be a little bit sweet compared to cacao. But hang on, this gives you a bit more chocolatey taste. So this goes about 1/2 cup. I measure it. And 2 tablespoons of honey. Oops. I'm just going to warm the honey so that it pours. So while that it is, I'll add all the others. 1 can of black beans. At one stage, it was supermarket Woolies. There was a lot of black beans available, both the Woolies brand as well as the Edgel's brand. Okay, just I drop the whole tin of black beans. I'll put it in with the liquid as well, so it's got a bit of liquid in it. There's my honey. And I've got to have 2 tablespoons. I made it earlier and I didn't have much honey, so I left the honey for tonight's recipe and I put maple syrup. And knowing me, I just put 1 tablespoon of maple syrup. It wasn't very sweet. What else do I have to have? 1 banana.
So a question about what you can do about the almond powder if you don't have a coffee grinder or a spice grinder.
You can buy almond meal from the shop already ground. It's called almond meal or almond powder. Almond flour, actually, I should call it. So this is my essence. Okay, sorry. It's almond flour or almond meal, and you can buy that at Woolies or Coles. They're already ground.
Vanilla essence.
I'm just adding the vanilla essence. It's supposed to be 2 teaspoons. I come from the old school. We use the cup as the lid as your teaspoon. 1, 2.
Just a question about the dates. They were just the normal cheap sort of dates, not those very large dates. Is that right? Because we're soaking it and cooking it.
Yes.
The normal dates. I mean, those cheaper ones taste fine. Yeah.
Yep. You don't want to use jewel dates and things like that because they're actually eating dates. So they're meant to be kept on the table to eat with. And because I'm going to cook it and bake it, you might as well just buy normal dried dates. Okay. So just all I have to do is mix it all up. The reason I'm using a processor is I find that if I use a blender, it tends to stick a little bit. It doesn't seem to mix evenly. But you know, it also depends what kind of blender you have. If you've got a good blender, you'll probably do it the same job. Okay. I'm just mixing it up because there was a little bit of powder on the side. Can you see inside? Okay. And I'm going to just add some slivered almonds. So it's about half a cup. Okay. So just add that in and just stir this in. Don't blend it. And okay, now comes the big job of taking it out and putting, I've got a tray and I've lined it with baking paper. Sorry? Well, it's supposed to be, size of the tray is supposed to be 15 by 25 centimeters. I don't have one like that, so I've actually used the square one, which is area-wise is very similar.
20 by 20.
It's a 20 centimeter square. Okay, so that's what it comes up, like a block. So it's not that liquid. I made some earlier on and I gave the mixture a little bit of a taste. It was quite nice actually. Not too sweet. I think this will be a little bit sweeter. Any questions? And this just bakes at 180 degrees for 30 minutes. So just push it all to the corners. Oh, sorry, I'm just going to use a knife to scrape most of it off. Before I forget, both these recipes, the paella is a bit of a modification of Jeremy Dixon's recipe of paella. And this one is almost exactly the same as his recipe from his book. In fact, it is the same. He makes some really nice dishes. Okay.
So a question about the previous fudge that you made that wasn't too sweet. If people don't prefer things so sweet, what's your impression of it? What should they do? That sort of thing.
You can do one of two things. You can put 1 tablespoon of honey instead of 2, or you can put maple syrup if you like, and just put about a tablespoon or a little bit more of maple syrup, and it won't be so sweet. And also, I think if you use carob is sweeter than cacao, so you might find you don't need to put so much sweetener. Remember, you know, it's very hard to sometimes be sure how sweet it's going to be because it all depends on the dates you're using, whether they're sweet, and that depends on when they pick the dates. And sometimes the early dates are not so sweet as the later dates, I think, from what I can gather. So you don't know when they got picked. So basically, that's all it is. And can you see that? And you just bake that for your 30 minutes. This is what I made earlier. And if you look at it carefully, I forgot something very important, like the slivered almonds. So I don't have those pieces of almonds sticking out, so it looks prettier. But it tastes nice, isn't it? Good. Andrew likes it sweeter. I like it like this. Oh. Well, if you want it sweeter, you can add icing sugar on it. So it is basically a fudge. Like you can see, it's a bit moist in the middle. And when the slivered almonds, you'll get all over them. Then you'll get this white streaks, which is really nice. So just think of it. You got good old oats, which is healthy. You got black beans, which is very, very healthy. You got cacao powder, which is supposed to be healthy and supposed to be good for making your mood really happy. What else? The dates, which have got a lot of vitamins. I think it's got A, B, and C, and E as well. And it's also high in iron and potassium. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% about this. This one's got banana in it. So the banana's got potassium in it. So bananas are good for you. So think of it, it's pretty healthy food. You know, you shouldn't feel guilty eating it. Any other questions? I'm just going to check.
Yana?
Yep.
Christine?
Yep.
With the black beans,
Sorry?
I always thought we couldn't have the liquid in the, we always had to rinse them, or the chickpeas and all that. It's black beans, it doesn't matter?
To be honest, it doesn't matter for anything.
Okay.
Because it is the liquid from the thing itself. The reason why you normally rinse them is to get rid of the salt if they've got salt in them.
But you can buy unsalted ones, so that's all right.
Yeah. So if you,
So you've got, if you wanted to rinse them, you've got to allow for that bit of liquid and put extra liquid in.
Well, you probably don't need to, because this morning I rinsed it.
Yeah.
And I used it dry, and it was a much thicker mixture. That's the only thing. It was a little bit more stiff to move it around.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Sounds delicious. Thank you.
Yeah, it is delicious. You have to come over for morning tea sometime. I've just got a minute to go for the paella. So what I'm going to do is move all my things over there. So you can see the rice. Sorry. The rice is all cooked now. And oops, just a second. Hotter than I thought it was going to be. It's stuck on a little bit. It's probably because my pan has lost its non-stickability. So I'm just going to stir this a little bit and add my cooked vegetables in. Add my frozen peas in. My chickpeas. This is the zest from one lime. The frozen piece gets cooked straight off in the heat of the cooking, and that's my lime juice goes in. That's your paella. It's got a bit of red, a bit of green. Oops. And that's all. It's moist. It's a moist dish, as you can see. I'm just going to decant it on a dish. The recipe serves around, you probably might get about 8 cups full of food. So maybe 6 people can have it as a meal. Depends how much you eat. This is not the right spoon, is it, Andrew? Did I put the herbs in? Oh, guess what I forgot to put in? My coriander. Like I said, you don't have to cook it, so was something green missing. You can put parsley. The recipe actually says parsley. I prefer coriander because I like coriander leaves. And I've got some growing in my garden. If I reduce the water a little bit, probably it won't be so moist. And it all depends how you like it. But most paella is a moist dish. Okay. This is the paella, and basically you're supposed to serve it with a lime. Put lime juice in. Oh, and if you like, you don't have to put the parsley in early and just put it at the end as a decoration, or the coriander leaves. Okay, that's all for today. Any questions?